Good afternoon, people. Here, Coach Avi. On the 28th episode of In the Car with Coach Avi, I will be talking about self esteem. This episode is a prelude, a introduction to the 29th episode, which will be combating bullying on all fronts. So, what is self esteem? There's a lot of definitions. You guys could Google it. I'm not going to tell you what the definition is because there's so many. It's qualitative, it's very it depends on the interpretation, depends on the person. But self-esteem, very intelligently explained and written by Nathaniel Branden, who is the father of self-esteem in psychology. He says that self-esteem is the immune system of our mind, of our soul, of our conscience. The immune system, we all know, it's white blood cells that defend, protect, and combat various viruses, bacteria that try to get into our system. And we have our white blood cells, which fight for us and we stay healthy. So it helps us heal, recover, and rejuvenate and get stronger. Now, we're not talking about physical, we're talking about spiritual, emotional, mental. Self esteem is the immune system of our mind. How does that work? Whenever we go through hard times, whenever we fail, whenever we feel bad, sad, or we go through trials and tribulations and challenges, if we don't have a strong self esteem, if we don't have a strong immune system, we won't be able to recover. We won't be able to heal. We won't be able to rejuvenate ourselves. So, whenever we're faced with bullies in this case, let's say, because that's going to be the topic next episode. Whenever we're faced with bullies, if we don't have that self-esteem, we won't be able to combat it. We won't be able to battle it. We won't be able to beat it. Same thing with the test. I studied, and I still got a 50. If we have a low self-esteem, that mind of yours, it's extremely powerful, can take you to a very dark part, dark side. And one failure can lead to another and another. And then you're like 15, 20, 30 years later, what did I do with my life? So that's why self-esteem is extremely important. Now, how is it as an immune system? A powerful immune system is if you have a strong self-esteem, if you have both components of self-esteem, which I will talk about, which is self-efficacy and self-respect, which I hugely talk about, which is one of the three commandments of Coach Avi. Again, respect, discipline, and structure. If you have that, your immune system for the mind, for your conscience, for your soul, is huge. Because if you feel good about yourself, if you have a high self-esteem, if you have a high self-worth and know your value and how efficient you are, how important you are, and that your thoughts, your feelings are not who you are, imagine how strong you are, how strong your immune system for the mind will be when you will fail, when you will have that sensation of quitting, of not doing it anymore. You're done. Imagine how strong your mind will be the moments that you're going through hell, that things are not going your way, that you're going through a lot of tests and tribulations and challenges. If you have a strong self esteem, if you believe in yourself, that self esteem will help you heal, will help you recover, will help you rejuvenate, will help you even get stronger. Once again, going back all the way to becoming anti-fragile. What is anti-fragile? Anti-fragile is recovering from a test, recovering from a failure, but not only recovering, but becoming better. So that's why self-esteem is extremely important. So self-esteem, which was brilliantly explained by Nathaniel Branden, who is the father of self-esteem in psychology, he says that self-esteem is the immune system of our consciousness. I spoke about the two components of self-esteem before I get to the 6 principles of self-esteem. I'd like to give a little introduction, which is going to take 30 seconds. So I said the two components are self-efficacy, which is confidence in achieving a task. Where when you're going to face a challenge, you're not going to fail. You're not going to quit. You're not going to just like look at that challenge and be like, oh, it's too hard for me. No, you're going to have faith in yourself that you're going to be able to do it. And secondly, the second component, which is extremely important, it's self-respect, which is the antidote of the imposter syndrome. Self respect is the sense of worth, sense of value. Many people sabotage themselves. Many people self sabotage, and whenever they should be praising themselves, they're like, oh, I don't deserve it, or I could have done better, and all. No, be worthy, be happy, be proud of yourself. Like David Goggins says, it's not bad to go into that cookie jar and take that cookie, meaning like I achieved that, good for you. Now let's move on. So very important. How do we build now the self-esteem? This is where I'm going to help. And once again, this is from the reading of The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden, a excellent book. I'll show after this video, I'll show you a few pictures and so forth. So the number one thing, the first principle, and they're all going to appear on the screen as I edit it, of course. So the 6 keys, the 6 principles to self-esteem. Number 1, living consciously, being mindful, living in the present. Very important. Work on the mistakes, expand knowledge, introspect, always try to get better, always try to better yourself, to learn, to read, to, again, not be afraid to make mistakes, because like Carl Jung again says, and it all goes back to psychology, you have to accept your failures. You have to accept the dark side, and by accepting it, you're letting go. By rejecting it in a way, it still has a hold on you. So work with your mistakes. What did I do? Live consciously. I did a task, I did very good, but this I could have done better. Now, how do I do better? And that's how we introspect. Okay, maybe I have to take more time. Maybe I had to read. Maybe I needed more preparation. So number one thing to level up your self-esteem is to live consciously. Number 2, self-acceptance. Extremely important. I always say, you're not your feelings and you're not your emotions. Do not let your feelings dictate who you are. Do not let your emotions guide you to the wrong side, to a path where you don't want to be. You have to accept who you are. You deal with your emotions and you move forward. If there's an issue with how you feel or how something is going about, once again, take a step back, accept it, accept who you are. If you're going through these things, it's because you could achieve a solution. And that's how you self-accept, okay? Number 3, self-responsibility. Accept your aloneness. What does that mean? That you're accountable, responsible, and that everything depends on yourself. So, and what do I mean by that? Your happiness. Do not count on anyone to make you happy. Do not count on something, someone, an occasion, whatever, to fill you up with joy, because that's not going to last, and it's shallow and it's void. You have to be responsible for your own happiness. So if you have to be alone and you enjoy being alone and you enjoy being with yourself, and you grow, and whether you're with friends or not friends, and you still have that sense of happiness, of joy, then perfect. That's exactly what the book Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is all about. Whether I'm with people, whether I'm with not, whether I'm popular, whether I'm not popular, whether my opinion ruffles a few feathers or not, I couldn't give a flying fuck, because that's who I am. That's number 3, self-responsibility. To take accountability and responsibility for your own happiness. Number 4, Self assertiveness. You have every right to express your feelings, your thoughts, and convictions. Be who you are. Don't be anyone else. Do not hide your feelings. Again, doesn't mean that you have to spill everything out and no. Control. Is it a good feeling? Share it. If it's a bad feeling, once again, why is it a bad feeling? Why is it bothering you? Is it supposed to bother you? If it's not supposed to bother you, then express it. And once again, accept it. Accept those feelings. Like I mentioned, self acceptance, living consciously, self responsibility. You're responsible for your own being, you're responsible for your own self, nobody else. So, once again, you have to assert yourself. You're here, this is how you feel, this is what you want, you go for it. People like it, great. People don't like it, too bad. That's who I am, and that's how you grow as a person. You do not count on the extrinsic validation, but you do it intrinsically. It's you. Okay? You could be surrounded by toxic people, negative people, or you could be in a workplace or whatever the case is where you're not too comfortable. But once again, you should not let the exterior control how you feel. You are in control of how you feel. You are in control of this. Whatever is out, you cannot let it bother you. Number 5, living purposely. To choose and set proper goals and purposes. Self-discipline and not sacrifice. Okay, so when I mean discipline, is you set a structure and you're disciplined, you follow through, and to better yourself. And once again, you may take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, then 2 steps forward, it's not a perfect linear graph. It's going to be ups and downs, and it's going to be very lows and then highs. So you have to stick to your guns. You have to live with a purpose. Self-esteem is more valuable than any short-term reward for its betrayal, meaning that you don't want to change who you are. You don't want to appease the masses. You don't want to comply. You don't want to be like, no. Because that's going to offer a very, once again, short-term reward and satisfaction, but you're going to feel empty inside. And that's the biggest issue when it comes to self-esteem is the feeling of emptiness. You do not want to feel empty because once you're empty, very easily it's all negative and it's all dark that's going to fill that emptiness. So you have to fill it with positive and strength and energy and positive self-talk and mind power. Number 6, last one, personal integrity. Practice what you preach. Keep promises, keep your commitments, and stay consistent. Consistency is key. Consistency is another word for discipline. Every day do what you got to do. Reps, like I tell my students, my athletes, my scholars, whoever they are, from young to old, you got to do your reps. My football players, you got to do your reps. You got to be consistent. You got to come on a daily basis, do what you got to do because you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for anybody else. And once again, personal integrity closely relates to self-respect. Because once again, when I go to the gym, even though I'm not training and I'm self-respecting myself, no. But by doing it, by acting upon it, by telling myself, Avi, I don't feel like training today, but I still have to go, it shows that I respect myself immensely because I don't want to go, but I still go. And it's not motivation. Once again, motivation is just a fizzle. It's just a little spark, and after 5 seconds, it's done. It's nothing. It's, once again, the discipline. It's the self-respect. And once again, consistency. You have to be consistent. So I'll resume very quickly the 6 keys to self-esteem. So you could have a checklist and you can mark them down. And every day you can mark, okay, what did I do? And okay, did I do this? And you'll see what's hard to achieve, what's easy to achieve, and you work on what your weaknesses are, on your shortcomings. It's not only to look at the positive, you got to also look at the negative. Okay, you have to accept that shadow in order to get better. So the 6 keys are living consciously, self acceptance, self responsibility, self assertiveness, living purposely, and last but not least, personal integrity. So I hope this helps. If there's any questions, you could always write to me. I'm always available, Coach Avi. And the next session, which is the continuation of this, will be about bullying. And self esteem is a huge, huge factor in combating, in beating, and overcoming being bullied. Godspeed.